Psycho family calls server the N-word and then demands that they get their meal for free. So, let me start off by saying that I work at a Cracker Barrel. I've seen my fair share of strange and rude people, but this particular incident takes the cake. I apologize for the length of this story, but it's worth it, I promise. Gather round, dear friends, and let me tell you about the Psycho family from hell. It was a pretty busy Friday night, and our restaurant was packed. I was working alongside my coworkers, including Lisa, who is one of the sweetest and most competent servers I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Lisa is African American. Enter our Psycho family. From the moment they walked in, you could tell they were going to be trouble. The parents looked like they had a permanent scowl etched onto their faces, and their kids were running around like wild animals. The hostess sat them in Lisa's section, and I could see the dread in her eyes. From the get-go, this family was nothing but trouble. Lisa did her best to keep up with their constant demands and complaints. They kept changing their orders, sending back their food for being too cold or too salty, and snapping their fingers at Lisa whenever they needed something. It was infuriating to watch, but Lisa just kept her cool and did her job with a smile. As the evening went on, the family's behavior got progressively worse. They started making snide comments about Lisa, calling her slow and stupid within earshot. She was visibly upset, but she powered through it. I couldn't believe how well she was handling the situation. And then it happened. The father, clearly unhappy with the service, decided it was appropriate to call Lisa the N-word. The entire restaurant fell silent, and you could have heard a pin drop. Lisa's face crumpled, and she excused herself to the back, where I found her crying in the break room. At this point, all hell broke loose. My coworkers and I were beyond furious, and we banded together to confront the Psycho family. The manager, hearing the commotion, stepped in and told the family that their behavior was unacceptable and that they needed to leave immediately. But, of course, this wouldn't be a true Psycho family story without a twist. Instead of leaving, they had the audacity to demand that they get their meal for free. They argued that they were the victims here and that they were just telling it like it is. My manager, who is usually pretty chill, was having none of it. He called the cops on the family, and they were escorted out of the restaurant. As they left, my manager informed them that they were banned from ever returning to our Cracker Barrel. With the family gone, we all gathered around Lisa to offer her comfort and support. She was still shaken, but she was grateful for our help. We told her that she didn't deserve to be treated like that and that we had her back no matter what. The best part of this whole ordeal, though, was the reaction from the rest of Lisa's tables. They had witnessed the entire thing and were appalled by the Psycho family's behavior. Many of them went out of their way to tell Lisa how amazing she was and how they appreciated her service. And the tips. Oh, the tips. Lisa's tables left her some of the biggest tips I've ever seen. They left heartfelt notes on their receipts, telling her to keep her head up and that there were still good people in the world. So, while it was an awful experience, something beautiful came out of it. Lisa was reminded that for every Psycho family out there, there are countless others who appreciate and value her hard work and dedication. As for us at the Cracker Barrel, we've become even closer as a team, knowing that we can count on each other to stand up against hate and discrimination. Wow, what would you have done if you were there to witness this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Entitled Jerk Cusses Me Out Because We Are Out of Meatloaf at Cracker Barrel. So there I was, working the lunch shift at Cracker Barrel on a pretty busy day. It was one of those days when you're just trying to keep your head above water, and you're not even sure if you're getting all your table's orders right. You know the type, endless refills, never-ending side dishes, and the nagging feeling that you've missed something important. Enter Mr. Entitled Jerk. This guy was the epitome of a meathead, all muscles, tattoos, and an attitude that screamed, "I'm better than everyone else here." I could tell he was going to be trouble from the moment I greeted him with a cheerful, "Hi there, how are y'all doing today?" He responded with a grunt and a dismissive wave of his hand. Great, I thought, this is going to be a fun table. The guy was dining alone, so I figured I could just get his order and get out of there. I put on my best customer service smile and asked, "What can I get you to drink?" His response, "Water. And don't skimp on the ice." Okay, sure thing, buddy." I brought him his water and asked if he was ready to order. "I'll have the meatloaf," he grumbled. "And make it snappy, I don't have all day." Now, I had just heard from the kitchen that we were out of meatloaf. It's a popular dish at Cracker Barrel, and sometimes it just happens. So, I braced myself for the impending storm and told him, "I'm so sorry, but we're actually out of meatloaf today. Can I interest you in something else, like our chicken fried steak or maybe a burger?" You would have thought I just told him his dog died. His face turned beet red, and he clenched his fists. I could see the veins popping out of his neck as he stared me down. "Are you kidding me?" He roared so loudly that the entire dining room went quiet. "I come here for the goddamn meatloaf, and you're telling me you're out. What kind of shitty restaurant is this?" I stammered, trying to keep my composure. "I'm really sorry, sir. We try our best to keep everything in stock, but sometimes we run out. I'm sure we have something else on the menu you'll enjoy." I tried to offer some alternatives, but he wasn't having it. He leaned in, his face inches from mine, and snarled, "You better find me some meatloaf, or I'll make your life a living hell." I could feel his spittle on my face as he screamed at me, and I couldn't help it. I started to cry. Now, I've dealt with difficult customers before, but this was on a whole other level. I tried to choke back my tears and apologize again, but he just kept going. He called me every name in the book, hurling insults at me like a pro baseball pitcher. I couldn't take it anymore, and I ran to the back of the restaurant, sobbing. You would think that at this point, my manager would have swooped in to defend me or kick the guy out. Right. Wrong. My manager, who we'll call Spineless Steve, came over to the table, apologized to Mr. Entitled Jerk, and offered him a discount on his meal. A discount. Can you believe that? I was in the back, wiping away my tears, when Steve came in and told me that I needed to go back out there and take care of my other tables. He said nothing about what had just happened, no words of comfort or support. He simply expected me to put on a brave face and pretend like nothing had happened. So, with my mascara running down my cheeks and my heart pounding in my chest, I went back out to the dining room. I tried to avoid making eye contact with Mr. Entitled Jerk, but I could feel his gaze burning into me as I went about my duties. My other tables were sympathetic, and some even apologized on his behalf, but it didn't make the situation any less humiliating. Eventually, Mr. Entitled Jerk finished his meal. By the way, he ended up ordering the chicken fried steak in case you were wondering, and left the restaurant. As he walked out, he shot me one last malicious glare, as if to say, I won this round. I could barely hold back my tears as I went to clear his table, and I noticed that, on top of everything else, he didn't leave a single cent for a tip. Why didn't my manager have my back? Why was it more important to appease an abusive customer than to support an employee who was clearly being mistreated? I started to wonder if it was even worth it to stay at Cracker Barrel. Sure, the pay wasn't bad, and I had made some great friends among my coworkers, but was it worth it to endure that kind of treatment and receive no support from my manager? I thought long and hard about my options, and I realized that I deserved better. The next day, I went into work, and I handed in my resignation. Spineless Steve barely batted an eye. He simply took the letter and muttered something about finding a replacement. As I walked out of the restaurant for the last time, I felt a mixture of sadness and relief. Sadness because I was leaving behind a chapter of my life, but relief because I knew that I was making the right choice for my mental and emotional well-being. So, to anyone out there who's dealing with a similar situation, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and walk away. You're worth so much more than being treated like dirt by entitled jerks and spineless managers. What would you have said to that entitled jerk? How would you have reacted to the manager's lack of caring and empathy? Tell us by leaving a comment below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.